The gambler's fallacy occurs when we believe that past events affect the probability of something happening in the future, when the events are in fact independent. So example, when you hear someone say, "We're due for a storm, haven't had one in a while." So think about the following two questions. So the first one, you intend to flip a coin 8 times. So what is the probability that you end up with 8 heads? The second one is you have just flipped a fair coin 7 times and ended up with 7 heads. What's the probability that when you flip the coin one last time and get another head, meaning that you would have flipped 8 heads in a row? So let's look at the first one. So we can solve this using the AND rule, right? It's the probability of getting heads on the first flip and heads on the second, and so on. So we know the AND rule means we multiply the probability of getting a head on the first one times the probability of heads on the second one. So this ends up being 1/2 to the power 8th, which equals 1 over 256. So this is a quite small probability that you're going to get heads 8 times in a row. Now when we look at the second one, right, because we flipped the coin 7 times and those are in the past, the probability of getting a head on the 8th is just 1/2, as the 8th flip is independent from the first 7 flips. So often people will see this happen, and in their minds they think, whoa, the next one has to be tails. It's got to be more likely. Well, it's not. The probability still remains at 0.5. So the gambler's fallacy is sometimes explained in terms of representative heuristic. So the representative heuristic occurs when we estimate the probability that something will happen is the result of a given underlying process. Now this is a heuristic. So if you recall, a heuristic are these mental shortcuts so that we answer the question quickly. Let's take a little closer at this. So suppose you flip a coin 8 times. We do it 3 times in a row. So we end up with 3 different outcomes. So you can see the first outcome is a mix of heads and tails. The second outcome is tails with 1 head, and the third outcome is tails. Again, when they ask someone what is most likely to occur, most people pick A. They say it's most likely to occur. What has just happened there is the gambler's fallacy. Or in other words, the represented, that thing up there.